Hello everybody, it's Wyvern here with a video to discuss Rampage and how exactly it works in Total War Warhammer 2. Now, early on, quite frankly, I'm not sure how Rampage worked. It received a serious rework a few patches down the road. At this point, it's probably been a few months back. And this has generally made Rampage a lot more tolerable. Nonetheless, there's still sort of a lot of uncertainty about how exactly Rampage works. I often see people, for example, complaining that their Witch Elves are not triggering Rampage. I often see people seem to sort of not entirely understand how what triggers the normal version of Rampage, though obviously Primal Instincts at least gives you some clear indicator with the 50% marker. So what I wanted to discuss here is what triggers Rampage and how the mechanic works in general. So if we look at any generic rampaging unit, one that has the most baseline, the most basic version of Rampage, such as for example this Bastillodon, you can see it has the trait Rampage. When this unit gets hurt, it may go on Rampage against nearby enemy units, attacking the closest ones, ignoring any orders given. Now, this, of course, describes exactly what it does. There's not much else to say there. There are no hidden, as far as I'm aware, there are no hidden stat modifiers that come with this. I often see people say a unit becomes unbreakable. This is most certainly not true. A unit is not even, as far as I'm aware, because any melee attack or defense buffs or debuffs. Its stats remain identical to what they were. It simply becomes uncontrollable. That is the main sort of point of this. However, how does Rampage exactly trigger? That is the real question. Now, I did a bunch of testing. I did some 1v1s with Kolek against rampaging units. I also tried units that do smaller damage per hit so as to get more exact numbers. And what I came up with through the testing is that Rampage triggers after unit loses somewhere between 25 and 30% HP. Getting the exact number there is a little difficult because oftentimes, especially if you use your big lords like Kolek, will just hit so hard that they knock a unit within a large range, and with smaller hits, same thing can happen. You can often get just a cluster of hits that might knock a unit into that range. So what I discovered is that Rampage kicks off after roughly 25 to 30% of a unit's HP is shaved off. Whichever hit knocks it below that marker is the hit that is going to trigger trigger that Rampage. So for example, Kolek takes 3 hits to knock a Feral Bastillodon into Rampage. Those 3 hits are exactly what, to knock it down by that necessary 25 to 30%. I do believe it's 25%, but I could be wrong there. I'm leaving a bit of a margin there. And the moment he drops you below 25%, the third hit is going to be the one that throws your Bastillodon into Rampage. So there is a constant to how Rampage works. 25% HP. Now, if we look at other units, like say Stars Warriors, or in the case of the Dark Elves, Cold One Knights, you can see their trait, Primal Instincts, means that when their HP drops below 50%, they rampage. Now, some people take this is that it means that that unit instantly rampages. Now, this is true. This is how it works out. But the reason it works this way is because once your unit drops below 50%, the rampage effect, the same one the Bastillodon has, then gets applied to the unit. From that, so if the unit and because the unit has already lost 50% of its HP, it is below that 25% threshold, and that means that it rampages. This is kind of significant also if you're once you're fighting later into the game. If your Cold One Knights get hit again, if they get stuck in another fight after they've already dropped that much HP, if they lose 25% HP again, they will rampage once more. So that is just so you know how these guys continuously rampage. The same thing applies to units with normal Rampage. For every 25% to 30% of HP you lose, you get another proc of Rampage. Now, Rampage lasts for 45 seconds on the dot, as far as I'm aware. I did some testing, just sort of timed it, and I got 45 seconds. If it's a different number, I do apologize, but I do believe it was 45 seconds. Rampage lasts for that long, and then as far as I'm aware, Rampage can proc almost immediately after, I do believe. It's a little difficult to test because a lot of the units with Rampage have pretty high HP to begin with, and you don't want to be sort of overkilling, but I do believe there is no cooldown period between Rampages. It simply requires that another 25 to 30% of the HP be shaved off the unit to proc that Rampage once more. Finally, how does it work on the sort of abilities that apply Rampage, as well as the Witch Elves Madness of Cain. In fact, it works in much the same way, and this is why you will often nowadays see Witch Elves hitting a lord repeatedly, say a lord on a dragon, a lord on a Carnosaur, a bunch of cavalry, they'll hit them constantly, and you're shocked and don't understand why the unit is not rampaging. In fact, I didn't understand this either. I assumed it was simply a chance that every hit has a percentage chance of causing a unit to rampage, and if you hit for example, against a dragon, you just don't have that many Witch Elves hitting at once, so that your chance goes down. In fact, this is not at all true. I was completely wrong, and well, the fact of the matter is that Madness of Cain simply applies Rampage to the unit. So you hit a unit, it doesn't matter what you hit. Let's say you hit, I don't know, you hit Mazdamundi here with Rampage. Once Mazdamundi loses 25% HP, he is going to Rampage. It doesn't matter if he's lost 25% HP before this point, and then you hit him once with the Witch Elves, Rampage will proc as well. So you don't need to get, you're not stuck in that situation where your unit needs to, where the damage has to have been done within a certain amount of time, where it has to have been done by the unit applying Rampage. None of that sort of stuff. Simply, if your unit gets hit by Rampage after it's dropped below that 25% marker, it will start rampaging. So, for example, these Witch Elves, if they hit Mazdamundi when he's down 25%, I don't know how much that would be on him. Some quick head math, putting that at like 1400, 1350, something like that. I'm not going to do some exact math here, but about 1350 to HP down, he would then start rampaging immediately. Similar effect with both Crone Hellebron and her murder party, as well as the Death Hag and Crone Hellebron with their Fury of Cain, as well as Witch Brew. It simply applies the Rampage status effect. Once again, you lose 25% HP, you rampage. You don't lose 25% HP, you don't rampage. And this is why sometimes you will have long stretches where a unit that should be rampaging, or that you think should be rampaging, does not rampage. It simply hasn't lost HP required. So that is something to keep in mind. Like I said before, Rampage can proc multiple times. If you hit a unit with Cold-Blooded, as far as I am aware, once again, that it's as long as it's losing that correct amount of HP, as long as it's lost that correct amount of HP, it will once again rampage. So for every 25% you lose, boom, that's another rampage if the unit has the effect. So I do hope, and I do hope, guys, that this was somewhat clear, that this hopefully clarifies some things about how Rampage works. I know, especially with the Witch Elves, I see this question raised a lot, or especially in other YouTubers' videos, as well as on the forums and stuff like that. I often see people wondering why their Witch Elves are not causing Rampage reliably, and this is why. It simply applies to Rampage trait. Rampage trait applies once a unit loses 25% HP. So if all you have in your backline are Witch Elves, and you're trying to shut down Reiksguard, there's a good chance your Witch Elves are doing almost nothing to that Reiksguard, and you're probably not going to be able to rampage them for a very long time, especially if they're getting support in some way, shape, or form. So do keep that in mind. That is how Madness of Cain works. That is how Rampage in general in this game works. So I do hope you guys found this useful. Hopefully it gives you some strategies. If you're looking into units that have the Rampage status effect on them, and you're kind of worried about using them because you think it's an RNG based mechanic, or that it's a mechanic that you have no way of predicting, hopefully this can help you. Hopefully this can give you some ideas. I still don't think a lot of rampaging units are competitive, but I simply hope that this is a bit of a useful tidbit of information that can hopefully improve everybody's game here. It definitely, I think, gives me some ideas and gives me some sort of understanding of how exactly some of this game's mechanics work that quite frankly I didn't understand before running all these tests. So I do apologize if this was a little ranty. I do apologize if it was a little messy. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, be sure to post them down in the comment section below, and I will do my best to respond as soon as I'm able. I suppose if you enjoyed the video, if you like this sort of stuff, be sure to leave a comment as well. Be sure to like and subscribe if you've not done already. The support does mean quite a lot, and I do appreciate it. And as usual, guys, I do thank you all for watching. I do thank you all for watching the video through, and hopefully it was helpful. So without further ado, guys, Wyron signing out, and I'll see you all in the next one.